Hi, guys, and welcome to the That's Where I'm At podcast. Today I have Paige. Paige is a feminist dating and relationship coach for women. She loves to help women unlock feelings they tend to keep hidden and uncover a path forward, even when the path is not immediately clear. Her mission is to help women feel better in their relationships with others and, most importantly, with themselves. Welcome, Paige.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you because I know this information is going to be helpful. I know just doing a little bit of relationship coaching with you, I found it very helpful. And I think I ran into you on TikTok is where I found you. So everybody go follow her on TikTok. So, and I was like, yay, let's talk because this is really good. So tell me, how did you get into relationship coaching?
How did I get into relationship coaching? That's a good question. I got into coaching a little bit by accident. I heard a podcast that I liked that resonated with me. And so I did some coaching work and workshops of my own. And then after having done one of those, I pretty quickly came back and signed up for my own life coaching certification,
Oh, awesome.
which I've done three. So the reason relationships, I am a late 40s divorcee, single mom with some challenging family relationships over the years. And as I look out across women that are our age and our stage, it seems like there's just a lot of suffering
Yeah.
and sadness and frustration with relationships, not just dating relationships or partner relationships, but like we've got parents, we've got friends, we've got partners, we've got kids. There's just a lot of places
Right.
that can seem hard. And I just really love helping women find a space to not feel crappy
Well,
all the time or a lot of the time, or
right.
to sort of unhook some of those long standing challenging relationships or ways of doing business and say like,
Hmm.
hey, there's this other way.
Right.
There's this other way over here that doesn't feel terrible, and in fact might feel good, even if you're still dealing with the people that sometimes make us feel terrible.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that. Just even having a conversation with you the other day, it was like, oh, because I haven't, and I'll explain that a little more in a second, but when I haven't been on a date since I was 22. And so, that's why I wanted to talk to you because I'm like, I don't even know what I want. I don't even know how to do this. I don't know anything. And I think I was making it feel like it was torture rather than you telling me, you can have it be whatever you want and it's gonna be okay. And and you don't have to
And like you can make it, yeah, you can make it whatever you want. And
yes,
listen, doing a new thing usually feels uncomfortable,
right.
and that's okay. Right?
Yes,
Like it's a thing you haven't done in 30 years. So like it might feel a little bit uncomfortable. That's
right.
okay.
Well, and I think that we need that reminder of that's okay because I think our brain wants to keep us safe and it says that is uncomfortable and unfamiliar and so you should run. It's danger, right? But we have to remind ourselves it's okay to do things that are uncomfortable and different and I'm not going to die during this because I'm being safe and well, for me, I'm being really safe and really slow. I decided to go the pace of a turtle. That's what I'm
Mhm.
gonna do. I'm gonna figure it out. But I was really, heading in the other direction of like, forget it. I'm never gonna date again. Just forget it because I don't understand what to do. And so it's really eye-opening to kind of think about what you want for yourself. And so are you finding that's what you're doing with women trying to figure out like what do you even want for you and your life? Is that how you're talking to others?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think about just all of the convos are just kind of going through my head. But yeah, what do you want? I mean, that is always a good place to start. I do
Yeah.
also, in another part of my life, I do a lot of facilitating and strategic planning work for like organizations. And that's one thing that
Yeah.
I think can be really informative for people. Like, we always have these like resolutions, or I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to look better, or I'm going to start dating. But it's like, but where are you going? If you don't know where you're trying to get to, then your
Oh,
path is going to be so lopsided. So the first thing that
Oh,
you might want to think about, whether it's relationships or like financial planning or, buying a house, it's like the goal is this. And
yeah,
the goal can be whatever you want the goal to be. You and I chatted the other day when we were talking. If your goal is to go out and have fun and have sex and make out with
yeah,
people and just live that part of your life, that is fine.
right, right.
If your goal ultimately is a long-term partnership, the quick hookup might not be the best path to get there.
Okay,
So
right.
I just think it is helpful, or the goal can change, dating post divorce. I know, that's the stage that you're in. I've been in
Mhm.
that stage.
Yeah,
That's going to look a lot different day number 1 than like year 5.
right,
Because you've processed more and you've kind of let go of the thing
right.
that didn't work, and you might have more space for something that does work.
I like
So,
that.
yeah,
I like that you were saying, like, what's your goal? Because you're right. I mean, say our goal is to lose weight and all we do is eat donuts every day. I mean, I'm just being really, general. It's like, well, then it's not working for our goal. But if we are saying, this is what I want, then the quick hookup might not be the thing for me. And so that's great to kind of have a plan. I'm very much a planner, I'm a type A, like I totally get that. I think that's why I was having trouble. I'm like, I'm all the way down the road. You're like, oh my gosh, you have to do one thing at a time. Like start at the
yeah,
beginning
one
and
thing at a
start
time,
freaking out.
always.
Right.
Yeah, and another thing that came up just in a conversation I was having with women yesterday is, what is, your goal, your want, your desire
Yeah.
does not have to be what everybody else's
Yes.
desire is for them or for you. So you and
Yeah.
I, I know sometimes your girlfriend, just go out, it's an adventure, just have fun, it'll be fun dating. And it's like, that may not be your kind of fun
Yes.
right now. Or
Exactly.
a woman I was talking to recently was, thinking about having a child in a second marriage, like in her 40s. And, the hesitation was all the voices in her head,
Oh
not
yeah.
her own desire, and so sometimes we have to really get quiet and listen. What do
Yeah.
I want? What do I want now? What do I want later? Am I ready for this now? But always knowing that, yeah, the process might be uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean it's a wrong
Right.
desire.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great thing about stopping to listen because sometimes the voices in your head are not yours. You're that
Right. Usually
are
they're not yours.
right. They're that are criticizing you and things like that. And I know we had talked about a little bit before about that our default seems to be what's wrong with me, right? And I think that that goes along with these voices in your head or people who say they don't want kids or something like that and they're worried about what everyone else is going to say or like your friend or whoever you were talking to that is like I might have a baby in my 40s and you're going to just have to be okay with it. So that's that takes a lot of, I think, self-love and even feeling like you're worthy to make those kinds of decisions. So, do you find people are struggling? I'm sure that's why they're coming to you for some coaching and advice of like, I don't know what to do. And then we have to like quiet the other voices and see what you want, right?
Yes. And I want to kind of grab onto one thing that you said and highlighted. If I could change one thing for women,
Yeah.
not about women, but for women, it would be the very thing that you said, which is our default thinking is always, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
There's something wrong with me. And that permeates so many areas of our life.
Yeah.
My proverbial example in dating coaching is, oh, I met a guy on Tinder 3 weeks ago. We went out a few times, we hooked up, and then he ghosted me. Dot, dot, dot. What's wrong with me?
Uh,
There's something wrong with me. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with you. If somebody you've known for 3.5 minutes like, doesn't want to
right.
date you. But let's go even broader.
Yeah.
My mom, my sister, my brother, my colleague, my coworker, my neighbor,
Yeah.
if they loved me, they would dot, dot, dot. Or, she didn't call me back right away.
Yes.
So there's something wrong with me. My
Yeah.
boss didn't compliment the big project I worked on. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
That is so, it's just so heartbreaking to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not helpful. It's
Right.
not true.
Right.
And so learning how to sort of unhook from this constant societal pressure women have to get
Yeah.
approval at every turn, and that somebody else's behavior means something about the state of your value or your worth,
Right.
um, is just so important, because we may not get even what we think we should from our parents.
Right.
Like the people who we're told, historically speaking, are most meant to love us
Right.
don't always show up for us in the way that we think they should or something, and
Right.
therefore we take it to be our responsibility that they just don't emote love and affection in the way that so
Right.
yes.
I know. I found that in my divorce when he got a girlfriend right away. I was like, what's wrong with me? What did I do? All these things. I thought I was doing the right thing. And as I was learning, like, oh, okay, no, this isn't about me. And so, it's like, I started loving on myself a lot more, going, no, I know that these are the good things about me, and that was his own behavior kind of thing. But that had to be something that I consciously did, because when you have something that's toxic happen to you like that, or even, well, we can use toxic, toxic behavior, even like if your parents can't love you, if your friends can't love you the way you need to be loved, sometimes it can be toxic. And thinking, is there something wrong with me? When there's not. When there's not, it's just that the people around you don't know how to love you because of their own issues, you know?
Right, that's like the greatest lesson that we need to learn, right? And I would think of like your ex-husband. What's wrong with him? Like what's wrong with him, and that he needs to have an immediate instant
Right.
new relationship? I mean,
Right.
there's a fine line between, if we're always deflecting and saying there's nothing wrong with me,
Yes.
that's not healthy either. Like, I just think women and people should take responsibility for, like, well, what role did I play in this that
Right. Right.
might make sense? But it's not all your responsibility either.
Right, exactly. And I had a hard time with that because, a lot of the things I learned after divorce was like, what was your responsibility in this? And I'm thinking back to all the things I did, and I'm like, I can't take responsibility for his behavior. And so that was important to me, because I felt like if I was doing the right things, not the toxic things, not the reactive things, if I'm doing the right things, I'm not responsible how he responds. And I think that's something to remember, that it's almost like when you're setting boundaries, right? You set these boundaries and then people don't follow the boundaries, or and then you decide, okay, well, I'm going to leave the situation. That's just what they're willing to do. That's what they're willing to do. That has no reflection on you. It's hard though. It's hard. That took a lot of years for me to really love myself, for to be able to say, like, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, well, and I want to sort of reframe one thing that you just said that can
Yeah.
be very so important.
Okay.
The question of what was my responsibility in this?
Yeah.
We often think the first go round of what was my responsibility in the divorce,
Yeah.
right? Like how am I what role did I play in the divorce, right?
Right. Right.
And to your point, like we are not responsible at any age. I have little kids, but at
Yeah.
any age for other people's behavior. Like we're just
Right.
not.
Right.
Better inquiry, the next
Mm.
level inquiry is, how am I responsible for myself and how I showed up for myself
Oh,
in this experience?
I love that.
And we won't probably solve this today in like your experience, but like if we rolled back the tape
Yeah.
of your marriage
Right.
20 years or
Yeah.
10 or 5 or however many,
Yeah.
like again, we can't take responsibility for other people's behavior. So then we have to go, oh, see
Right.
that thing back there when the kids were little? And I started putting myself second or putting my needs or
Yes,
biting my tongue
exactly.
to make him happy. That's the thing. It's not
Yes.
just, well, did I argue or did I allow, you know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
think there's
That
like just lots of levels to this work. And when we get to the
Yes.
kind of the one in the middle, like the nuts in the middle, you're like, oh, I kind of not allow I don't want to say allowed the behavior, but allowed I was out of integrity with myself and who I want to
Yes.
be. And then
Yeah.
and then whatever.
I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. That is next level thinking. And I think you're right. We did allow the behavior because we were out of integrity with ourselves. So I don't I can go back to the beginning, Okay. Because unhealthy me allowed it from the beginning. And so it just became a pattern of, these things. And every time I would compromise and be out of integrity with myself. So that's a great way to look at it, and not to shame anybody,
And
right? To
I
learn and
wanna
grow.
jump on that too. This is
Yes.
not a shaming, and I should have known, and I should have done different
Yes,
because,
exactly.
hey, we're just all out here, like, doing the best that we can, and then
Right.
add in a couple of kids, a job, life,
Right.
parents,
Yes,
existence, a
exactly.
pandemic. So it's not a shaming, it's just an awareness building so
Yes.
that in the future,
Yes.
we have, like, exercised that muscle a little bit so that we know going forward,
Right.
I'm not doing that again. Or I wasn't clear on my values then, but I'm clear on my values now. And I know that
Yes.
this is not in alignment with the future that I
Right.
am to create. And
Yes.
that's again why it can be helpful to like spend a few minutes thinking about what is that future I'm trying to create. If
Right.
future I'm trying to create is have a warm body in the bed next to me, easy peasy. You can do that tonight.
Right.
If the future I'm trying to create is a companionate partnership
Yeah.
with somebody who allows me autonomy, that they get to be themselves and I get to be myself, and we laugh and we support each other, and sometimes we push our faces together and make out.
Right.
Like that's like we need to then we know if we're
Right.
like dating or in a relationship with somebody, and even for friendship or parent, again, family
Yes.
relationships,
Yes.
if it's we're not going in that direction, we can sooner say, hey, this is not again, aligned with who I am and who I am becoming, and so this just,
Yeah.
like, isn't a good fit.
So it sounds like we need to be doing the work on ourselves. Right?
I mean, I hate to break it to everybody, but
I
there's,
know.
like, kind of no other way. It's like you just have to do it.
Sorry.
I
But the thing is that, I've had so many conversations on the podcast about this kind of stuff. And I remember the way I felt before I started doing work on myself. It sounded scary. It sounded like, no, I don't want to look at that. But from the other side, and you can attest to this too, from the other side, having done the work down the road, the fruit and the joy and the happiness that you have, because you can go, hey, this isn't so scary to look at this piece. You know what I mean? Like, to hear I was out of integrity with myself. Look, I would have gone into a shame spiral, a couple of years ago hearing that. But now I'm like, oh, yeah, that's it. That's what I was in. You know what I mean? I was doing that. I was out of integrity.
and,
And
like, no
now,
wonder I felt terrible because something inside me knew that this wasn't
yes,
right,
exactly.
you
Yes,
know?
exactly. And so everyone, I just want to encourage everyone to don't be scared to do the work. It
But here's
really,
the thing that people don't realize also, doing the work can feel hard.
yeah.
Not doing the work is hard.
Yes.
You're still suffering. You're
Yes.
just like prolonging your suffering and staying stuck in a spiral of suffering,
Yeah.
Every little bit you move forward kind of like changes the trajectory a little bit. I need to look up like the actual like legit example, but it's like they talk about an airplane.
Yes.
I'm in Omaha, you're in, remind me where you are?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. So if I was flying from Omaha to Las Vegas, if the plane went 1
Yes.
degree off the
Yeah.
the flight plan,
Yeah.
we would end up like in Florida.
Right.
Eventually, because it just would keep going,
Right.
right? And so
Yes.
that incremental turn
Yeah.
adds up over time.
Right. And so we can use that as an example, right? You're making a plan, you're going through life, and you're like, yes, I'm headed to Las Vegas, everyone. Let's go gamble. And then you get off the plane, you're like, hello, I'm in Florida. What am I doing here?
I
How did
didn't bring a bikini. What am I doing here?
how did I get here? Where's the gambling? That kind of thing. And yeah, I kind of got to that point at some point in my life, but that's when I started doing the work and going, "Well, how did I end up here? How did I end up in a place?" It was the weirdest thing to me. And I was talking to my son about this because I don't know, we were just kind of have this deep conversation, but it's so simple to me. I started saying out loud, this was before I was any self-aware about this. I started saying out loud, I'm not really sure where I gave people the permission to treat me like this, but somewhere along the way I did.
Yes.
And I started saying it out loud to people, like to someone, like say you were making fun of me or whatever, and it was hurting my feelings, and I asked you to stop and you didn't. And I literally would just be like, I don't know where I gave people the permission to do this, but I did. And
But I'm not doing it anymore.
yes. And that started happening often enough to where I said, what is that? And it was sort of me wanting boundaries in my life. I didn't know what boundaries were. I thought boundaries were me telling people what to do. And if I,
Mm-mm.
right, exactly. And it's not. And especially if you're a people pleaser, which I was, and if I was being told I was controlling, which I was being told I was a controlling person, then why would I tell somebody what to do? But boundaries aren't that. Boundaries are my choice of what I will do if you continue your behavior. And what freedom was that? Oh my gosh, to learn that, what the freedom was great.
It's life changing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. If you're a woman in America, you've been socialized since you were little
Yes.
to be a people pleaser and to be quiet and to look pretty and to be
Yes.
chosen and to not rock the boat. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
that's something that we just need to change because we are human. We have thoughts, we have feelings.
Yes.
And, that boundaries thing is such a good lesson. It
Yeah.
is, the learning. And we don't you got to put a boundary on. We see it on Facebook a lot. You got to put a boundary on somebody. It's like, no, 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 no. Boundaries are the place at which you and I
Yeah.
can both exist and I can exist
Right.
in a relationship when I go, no, no, this was my line, and then you've
Yes.
crossed my line. Like I'm, removing myself from the situation or the conversation, or
Yes. Or whatever you
um,
decide to do, your choice in the situation. I have a friend who we have such a beautiful relationship. I will start to go like, you know what you should do? And she'll put her hand up and she'll go, nope, didn't ask you. And I'll be like, okay, I'll just listen. And then we continue.
yeah,
But we have such a good relationship that she's allowed to say that to me and I'm allowed to say that to her. And I think if someone was sitting next to us, they'd go, God, that was rude. But we know it's not. It's just very like, nope, this is my limit. And you know what? I just want to talk to you. And it's like, okay, let's do that. Because I forgot to say, which I love saying, do you want me to just listen or would you like a
do you want me to
solution?
help you?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. What were you going to say? How were you going to word that?
Well, I just was thinking too, that word should. So I would challenge you and all of your
Okay.
listeners to.
Yes.
I have tried to take that word should out of my vocabulary for many,
Okay.
many years
Okay.
because you don't know what they should do. You have
Yeah.
some ideas,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we
That's
all
true.
we all only have our own lived experience, right? And so
Yeah.
to tell somebody, well, you should do this or you should do that, it just misses so much complexity. But
Yeah.
I love the thing that you offered. Are we just listening? Are we girl talking? Do you want me to help you brainstorm solutions?
Yes. I
And
like
even
that.
in that case, being a strategic facilitator, I still don't really hardly ever use the word should. I
Yes.
might say something like, well, have you thought about
Okay. I like that.
thing? Have you considered
Mm.
that thing?
Right.
Have you tried this thing? But there's not one right way to do something,
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that we learned in Love and Logic, which is a parenting book and also whatever way of doing parenting, is would you like to hear what some other kids have tried? And so,
Yes, I love it. Yes.
yes.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And when you're trying to, especially when you're trying to talk to a child, so maybe don't do this to your adult friends, but saying like, which one do giving them a couple of choices and going, which one do you think you'll try? Because at that point with kids, it's like you're coaching them along, but with an adult, that might sound a little condescending.
Yeah. Well, and here's like a, free coaching moment. A
Okay.
lot of times, most of the time, we are taught to like we're taught to act from the place of action. Well, what should
Okay.
I do?
Okay.
What I would suggest, having done this coaching work, is again, if we zoom out and go, well, what's the result that I want to get?
Yes. That's so
Skip the
good.
action for a minute. What am I trying to do? Am I trying to build connection? Am I trying to get a loan? Am I trying to
Right.
pick a place for dinner? And then before the action really is this thoughts and feelings, like the action will show itself when you
Yeah.
get clear on how do I want to feel about the situation.
Yeah.
So if the feeling I want to have is justice is served and I want to be right and I'm blah, 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 you might show up differently in your action
Yeah.
than I just want to build with connection with this person that I love. Let me
Yeah.
pause for a minute and think, we might still not get to the same answer or like compromise on where we're going to dinner and whatever, but the action is different depending on how you think and feel about the situation.
Yeah.
And like, what are you trying to create with it?
Right. Oh my gosh, that's so good. Thanks for that coaching moment. That's it's
Yes.
really good, because I feel like sometimes my thoughts are very what you would say typical, right? Because it's what's out in society. And so I kind of this thought came up and I didn't prompt you for this, so we can edit it out if it doesn't work out. But I want to talk about Taylor Swift
Okay.
because it just I feel like it goes along with what we were talking about. We've been socialized to be like, can you be quiet? Can you like not be,
Yes.
can you not interrupt me? And I'm sitting there going, so I saw the best thread, okay? And I wish I would have taken a screenshot or saved it or shared it or something. And I'm so bummed. I went looking for it yesterday and I put in the words Taylor Swift. That didn't happen. I found a million other things. But somebody said, you're really telling your daughters what you're telling your daughters.
Like
60,
be quiet,
yeah,
be
because 60 seconds out of your 3-hour football game, they showed a woman who's somebody's girlfriend in the suite. And so what you're telling your daughters, be quiet, be less.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's it. And people don't realize it. People, your daughters, okay, we'll just use an example. I don't have, I mean, yes, okay, my daughter's 30, and of course, we love Taylor Swift. But if I were to be like, gosh, God, I can't believe it. They're showing her all the time. Maybe in her mind, well, I love Taylor Swift. And why is it a problem that they're showing her without them asking? All they're hearing is be quiet, be less. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Never mind. She's brought like $300 million in revenue to the NFL. I like there's so many
Yeah,
layers to the Taylor Swift thing.
I
The
know.
one little analogy that just I loved as I saw somebody posted on a Facebook thing yesterday. Women who are our age or older, if you
Yeah,
remember, like in basketball, I don't really watch sports anymore. My kids are little, so we're usually
yeah,
watching, kids stuff. But
yeah.
in most sporting events, like a basketball game, the
Yes.
camera would pan over to Spike Lee or Jack
Oh,
Nicholson
right. Yes. Uh-huh.
sitting courtside.
Yeah. I can't
Nobody had
believe
a problem with like, why is it all of a sudden now it's a big problem with Taylor Swift?
I know. Why is
I
that?
am not like us. I am like growing my interest in her from a very detached perspective. Like, I don't, my daughter's not old enough. Like, I don't listen to her music. If it came
Yeah.
on the radio, I honestly probably wouldn't even know it was her. But there's a
Okay.
really good Netflix or Hulu or Amazon, one of those
Okay.
documentary about Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And I mean, the evolution of her, it's
Mm.
exactly that what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Her evolution from feeling judged, feeling criticized,
Yes.
feeling scared, feeling nervous,
Yeah.
going kind of in a black hole for a year or two or three,
Yeah.
and then doing her personal work, and then coming out the other side going, I don't care what you guys all say. Everybody's got an opinion, and I'm
Yeah.
not going to listen to all that. I
Right.
mean, for that reason, I admire her tremendously.
Yes.
And
I
the
do
other thing
too.
is,
Yeah, go ahead.
like, well, her and then I was listening to a podcast this morning with Daniel Levy from Schitt's Creek. I mean,
Oh,
all
I
of these,
love him. Oh, okay, you got
it's
to
so
tell
good.
me
It's
which
on We Can
episode.
Do Hard Things. Yeah,
Okay.
I can send. So every time I listen to somebody who's in the public eye or a celebrity, so Taylor Swift or Daniel Levy,
Yeah.
anybody,
Yeah.
every single time people say, "Oh, introvert. I'm scared. I don't like." I mean, a lot of these
Yes.
forward-facing celebrities are actually very introverted,
Yeah.
but you do it anyway. Like, you do it through the discomfort. And so I
Yes.
just think there's so many good lessons there for all of us. Like,
There is.
it doesn't matter who you are. 50% of the people are going to be on this side and say you're terrible, and 50% are going to say,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
only one that really matters is you.
Oh, it's so true. My gosh. Okay, so I'm glad you were prepared for that conversation. I thought you might be because, it is very of the moment, but as I am starting to see things, I just know from my perspective. Okay, I'm going back to unhealed 12-year-old little Laura who wanted approval all around me. At 12 years old, we're all a bundle of hormones and who knows what, right? Insecurity and everything. And I just thought to myself, what if I heard that? I know how I would have taken it in because I know how I did take it in because I know I took it in like that. It was it's and so it's so unintentional. It's that subconscious, and our subconscious is what, 95% of what our thoughts and stuff, and so when I heard that, when they're like, "You're really telling your daughters, to be quiet and be less," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, people just don't realize. Just because you don't like her doesn't mean your daughters can't like her, and why would you not like her? I don't get it." That's one thing I'm not getting.
Yeah. Yeah. They say, I don't know exactly, but in my coaching world, I've seen a lot of statistical data that
Okay.
says we have like 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and like 80 to 90% of them are negative.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's a lot of negative programming that you have in your own head.
That's a lot.
It's terrible. The
Yeah.
good news is all of your thoughts are optional.
Oh my gosh.
And the way you
Yeah.
change, I mean, gosh, we could do this for hours. I can talk about
Yeah.
this forever.
Right.
But the way that we start changing our self concept,
Yeah.
well, is we start changing our self concept.
Right.
But it doesn't work ever to go from I hate myself to I love myself.
Yeah.
Sorry, Instagram, like your little quotes that you put on your mirror are not, that doesn't work
Okay.
because you don't actually believe it.
Right.
So
Yes.
you have to kind of, work your way up, take a couple of detours, neutralize
Yeah.
things a little bit to get to the other side of
Yeah.
not living in that negativity all the time
Right.
and not letting other people's voices
Right.
determine how you should feel and how you should think and how.
Right.
I mean, let me give you an example. I think you
Mhm.
know this. Your listeners probably don't know this. I got married late and divorced early, I like to say. I was a stepmom first, and then a mom, and then a single mom. I am now in my late 40s, a single mom by choice, which
Mhm.
means I have a baby, had a baby by myself on
Oh gosh.
purpose
That's awesome.
via IVF with a sperm donor.
That's awesome.
You know how many people would tell me that's a bad idea to have a baby at 47 by myself with sperm I got on the internet?
Right.
Lots.
Right. But it's not their problem.
Not
It's
like,
not it's not their
I
decision.
would tell you that this is the best decision I've ever made. She is
That's
an
awesome.
absolute joy in my life,
Oh, I love that.
and other people can disagree with my decision,
Yeah.
and that affects me literally 0.
Yeah.
I just
Yes.
don't even.
Right.
The one thing this is so silly, but I'm guessing most of your, listeners are Gen X like you and I are-ish.
Right.
I
That's
just remember as a kid, and I say this sometimes in my coaching sessions to be funny, but it's true. I'm rubber and you're glue. Everything you say bounces off me and sticks to you.
yes. It's so true.
It's
And they're
just like
probably
an elementary school way of saying, I don't IDGAF. Like,
right. You're allowed to cuss on here if you want to, but I
yeah,
feel
like
I
I
feel
don't,
like
you
it's
don't
very
have to approve.
projecting. Yeah, when you're projecting, I feel like I think it's like people projecting their insecurities and stuff sometimes. It's like
100%.
just because you're freaking out at the thought of having a baby by yourself at 47 doesn't mean that you have to go do it, but can you encourage her because she's doing it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
It's
I mean, we just can only make our own decisions, right? And I
yes.
didn't get married at 38 to be separated 5 years earlier,
Right.
for sure, but the cost of staying in my marriage
Yes.
was, I feel, almost becoming life or death. I'm like, this is gonna kill me. Like, I
Yeah.
cannot keep doing
Yeah.
this level of unhappiness forever and ever, amen. Like, God bless the women that came before us that had no
Yeah.
other choices.
Right.
I just don't have the I did not have that constitution to keep doing that.
Yeah. No, and I did
And
I did the same thing. It got to the point where I was like, I'm going to die in this marriage right now. But it
yeah,
took me a long time to get there because I feel like I put everybody else first. I did not think about myself. Of course, I was having a lot of toxic words spoken over me and all those kinds of things, but also I didn't start out in a good place. I didn't start it anywhere where I had any kind of self-confidence or even love for myself. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing for me is just love for myself, thinking I'm even worthy to have anything. Um,
Mhm.
I wanted to comment on when you were talking about the, quotes on your mirror or stuff like that, because that's something I did, but I didn't just do that. And so I like the way you said that. And also the reminder that going back to what we were talking about before, the reminder of where do you want to go, right? What is your goal? What do you want to do? And so I could see where they would be useful because I was like, this has to help me on my road to
Mm.
recovery. And
Mhm.
so I did do those things. But I'm a words person. I like that. But then I remember I did a lot of other stuff. I'm doing therapy, I'm doing journaling, I'm doing holistic coaching and things like that in between. So it wasn't just those because I totally get it because when you're putting a affirmation on your mirror that says I am beautiful and you look in the mirror and you go no I'm not and you have all those hundreds of other voices in your head
Right.
going no you're
Right.
not. That's hard, but it's doing that work, I think, in between the putting the affirmation on your mirror
Yeah.
and the goal that you have. So what do you I don't know, what do you think about that? Because I do
No, I
like those
agree. 100 like, good, explanation and
oh,
good
okay.
clarification, but,
Okay.
yes, it's the work in between that
Okay.
gets you to that place. Or I've got, one of the things I'm working on this year myself is, like, my money mindset and my
Yeah.
whatever. So I have some signage around my office
Yeah.
that I can look at to remind me, like, I'm a boss with money or I'm this and that.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but just saying that phrase
Is not enough.
is not gonna make me a boss with money unless I
Right.
do some work around getting my stuff organized and my financial I need to get my relationship with my finances,
Yes.
I mean, this is just like a, personal revelation.
Yeah.
I've just sort of been like, set it and forget it, but that's not the right approach. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I have had a very neglectful relationship with my financial life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, in fairness to me, single mom, got divorced, have a
Yeah.
baby, like that has not been my priority now that we're in a better space. Like all of our life is relationships. It's like relationship with others, relationship with money,
Yes.
relationship with neighbors, relationship with self. And so um I think we just got to start going in and like we put it all out on the table and go, "Ooh." It's like
Yeah.
decluttering. Like that's not that helpful anymore and
Right.
that doesn't get me to
Yeah.
my goal of like, what I'm trying to build in my life and in my
Right.
family and whatnot. So
And you're
um
so right. I had someone I TikTok or something, they were talking about you putting these vision boards, vision boards are very
yeah,
popular, whatever, and put these vision boards up where you're living in a one bedroom, maybe you're living in the spare bedroom of your parents' house, and up on your vision board is this $30 million beach house, and it's like you're going to feel defeated looking at this if you don't have a goal on how am I getting there? How am I doing this? Like just looking at this beach house isn't going to do it for me. You know what I mean? And so
right.
I like that idea. Really I love the idea of I don't know why I missed that portion of that piece of like, what's the goal? What do I have? So then steps I take along the way get me to that goal. Like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna if I don't have a job, how am I getting to a $30 million beach house kind of thing?
Yeah, and again, there's some research that would support the idea that
Okay.
this is why I was saying it's not going to stick if it doesn't like stick.
Yes.
Your thoughts and your vision
Yeah.
have to sort of align with the feelings and emotions that are in your body.
Okay.
And for me personally, I never would want a $30 million beach house.
Me
Like
either.
I look at I'm like, what would I even I mean, we live in
Right.
one room in my house, like we all stay in the living room and that's it.
I know.
Um, but like a more well decorated house or something, if that
Yes.
makes me feel warm and sort of connected to
Yes.
that vision, you are more likely to go towards it and to be successful along that way.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
yeah, I think vision boards, I mean, it's always the like looking forward, looking back can
yeah.
be somewhat informative, but it can also be somewhat limiting. Oh, I've never done this before. I don't know how to do it. It's like you've never done a lot of things before. You never knew how
Right.
to like be a parent before you had a kid. You never knew how to like ride a bike before you tried. Like, I
Yes.
think there's just like expectation that we're just supposed to like know how to do everything and be successful. And it's like,
I know.
no, that's not honestly it doesn't work like that.
This is a good reminder thinking about every couple of years or whatever when we're getting a new phone, right? Everyone's getting a new phone. I'm going to get the latest model. Oh, I hate this update. Things like that. I have started saying, well, you learned the last one. You're
Yeah.
gonna learn because I'm the weirdo who
Yeah.
goes on YouTube and figures out all the bells and whistles because I'm like, I might as well figure out what it all does. But there's people
Yeah.
like, I don't want a new phone or I don't want to do the update because I won't know what to do. And I always say, but you figured out the last one, you can figure this one out. And they're just
I mean,
like,
to start with, you figured out how to put a phone in your pocket. It used to be on the wall. Like,
right, exactly. Yes.
heck.
How did we live with,
Take a
many of us
picture.
said there's no way you can live without a landline. Oh my gosh. And it's like now what now we have it in the palm of our hand at all times, which is probably not great. But anyway.
Yeah. Life is just always changing, right? And so
Yes.
being resistant to that will only make it harder for you,
Yes.
honestly.
Yes. Yes.
And so what are the new skills that we can like learn along the way? Like I have a almost 11-year-old and a toddler, and I don't have any experience parenting a teen yet, but I
Right.
will
Yes.
before too long.
You will. I think don't we get scared that we're not going to do it right and it's not going to be perfect or whatever our issues are and I don't know. It's just good for our brain to try new things. So, I've talked about this multiple times. So, if anyone's listening ever to my podcast, I've talked about this neurologically. It's great to try new things. Your brain actually grows. You actually get a stronger, better brain by trying things
Yeah.
and failing. That you have to
Yeah.
fail. And I know that sounds really scary for some people, but you do. You have to.
Yeah. And the thing that I would add, that I think is very important and is a theme throughout the whole thing that we've been talking about
Uh-huh.
is the difference that we get to have when we're older
Yeah.
is that trust in ourself,
Yes.
that we will catch ourselves when we fall.
Yes. Yeah.
So be it trying a new sport, be it trying a new skill, be it trying a new phone, be it me trying to reorganize my financial house,
Right.
be it relationships. So again, circling back, I coach a lot of women on relationships. I don't want to get hurt. I
Yeah.
don't even want to be dating because I don't want to get hurt. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
Right.
Somebody will act in a way that you might like for a while and then you may not like.
Right.
The difference at 30, 40, 50, 60 is that we have better tools and maturity and self-love and
Yes.
self-care in how we're going to be responded, like how we are going to respond
Right.
if somebody treats us in a way that's hurtful that we didn't have when we were 15 or
Right.
20, you
Right.
know?
Yes. I know
And so that,
that's the thing I'm loving about this age. It's like I can look at dating differently. I'm not looking for someone who's going to be the father of my children. I'm not looking at that kind of stuff. It's like you have a whole life, I have a whole life. Let's get together and enjoy our life together. That's what I'm looking for.
yeah, yeah. And if we get together and we enjoy it for a while and then we don't enjoy it anymore, like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that might have been the whole complete relational experience you're supposed to have with somebody. And it might have been for 3 weeks and it might have been for 3 years and it might be for
Yeah.
30 more years. Like
Yeah.
I always like joke, like you don't get a certificate for longevity.
Why not?
There's no, you got a marriage certificate to start, but there's no prize at the end.
I did get a divorce certificate,
Yeah.
but it did
Yeah.
not
But
say
like you don't get, these people that are, oh, I mean, you and I have talked about this. Well,
yeah.
I don't know from the beginning if it's going to work out. I'm like, right. You don't know from the
Exactly.
beginning
You
if it's going to
don't.
work out. That's
Yeah.
part of the game. Like it's part of the process.
I know you were like, just worry about the 1 hour coffee
Like
date
go
you
to
have.
lunch.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, and the
I'm
other
like,
thing
"Ugh."
on that dating topic, and again, relationships, because I
Yes.
have found in my personal life and in just my coaching world, I think a lot of women, midlife, whatever midlife is for you, are
Yeah.
also in a place of making friends, releasing friends. Like things have just sometimes shifted. Like we're not
Yeah.
geographically as close to friends we had in college, or some people got divorced and some people didn't. You and I are not that far apart in age, but your kids are
Yeah.
30, mine are little.
Yeah. Right.
There's just stuff that happens. And then people are saying, well, I don't know. How do I make friends? Or how do I,
Yeah.
I'm like, a lot of our early friendships were just situational. Like I went to
Right.
this school or this college or this law school,
Yes.
and these people were around me or had this job. My first job is this, and we made friends. And so
Yeah.
now when we're older, like the deck is cleared, you got to kind of start from the beginning. Like you got to
Yeah.
start from scratch
Right.
sometimes,
Yeah.
kind of like dating, making friends. Like, hey, again, want to get coffee? Do we have something in common?
Yeah.
You know, And there's a lot of I think women have a lot of fear in doing that, but I'm like, "God, there's so much
Yeah.
opportunity because like now we get to choose. Like now we get to be more intentional about who we put in our circle. And it's not just kind of like who you ended up with on a, spring break trip in college or something." And
Right.
so, um, getting over that fear, what if it doesn't work out? What if, I mean, I've coached like so many
Yeah.
women, professionals, stay at home. I don't, well, what if somebody doesn't like me? I'm like, it's okay. I don't like you. And we
Yes,
find
but
other people who do like us.
well, but that comes from that self-love, right? Because that's what I had talked to so many friends and I think, my gosh, you're still this age. And I was the same way though. We're still this age and we're worrying about what if they don't like me, and it's like it's just at some point it's just exhausting. And if they don't like me, they don't like me. And that's just the way it is. And especially like putting ourselves out there on the socials, right? People say things and I'm just like, it just rolls off of me. It really doesn't matter to me. I don't even spend any time on it because I'm like, you don't know me. You don't know my life. You can't know who I am off a 30-second video. You don't have any idea what I went through,
Right. Right.
And
And some
so,
people make it their job to like troll people online. So
yes,
it's like, why would we
exactly. Yes,
give any
exactly.
airtime to that?
Yes, exactly, and it's like, no, I don't have time for that, my message is too important, and so that's what I focus on, and that's why when even my friends ask me like, "How can you be on video, and how can you do this?" I'm like, "Well, because 'cause I'm not worried about me, I'm worried about that person that was in the same situation I was in, she needs to hear my message, she's, struggling," and so when we think about why are we doing what we're doing, thinking about what's our goal, right? That whole thing we've been talking about. What's our goal and what's the whole point? I'm talking to that woman that was in the same situation I was in, and she needs to hear that she's not alone because I felt like I was alone. And that's why I'm doing all this so that people can hear they're not alone. All right.
Fine.
Yeah, all these things that we're going through, all these things we're talking about, we're not the only two going through this stuff. You know what I mean? There's so many other people out there who are going through these things. So,
Yeah, and I will just to put like maybe a sort of a button on that idea too, because I've been thinking about this a lot recently. In the last 6, 7, 8 years,
mhm,
for me personally, starting in about 2016, simultaneously, I was trying to extricate myself from a very, very, very challenging marriage.
okay.
While at the same time, my best friend from high school got diagnosed with colon cancer.
Mm,
And while at the same time, I quit my job to be self employed as
yeah.
so taking the job thing out, I had two majorly traumatic
Yes.
life events that I think if you met me then, you would have seen a shell of a person
Yeah.
who was just trying to get my kid fed
Right.
and get through the day most days
Right.
and survive this time of deep, deep sadness.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, number 1, this is not when we work on self-improvement. This is when we work on, like, survival and, like,
Right.
getting through we're not gonna be our best self when
Yeah.
we're getting divorced and our best friend is dying, or
Yes.
either,
Right.
probably.
Right.
But let's go forward then, she passed away, my divorce was finalized. That was in 2018, literally, like, within 30 days of each other.
Yeah.
2019, starting to get my life resituated and try to figure out what that looks like. Unmarried, living separately,
Yeah.
co-parenting, not a best friend to support me.
Right.
Oh, 29, pandemic. Or 2020, I mean.
Yeah.
2021, and then I did my own fertility stuff, hormones, injections, traveling, shots, pregnancy,
Yeah.
baby in a pandemic,
Wow.
single mom. All of this, I am telling you to
Yeah.
share for your listeners. I think of that this last 7 or 8 years or however many
Yeah.
years as sort of my it's like a dip, it's like my gray period or my quiet time or my
Yeah.
not my exuberant, energetic, living my best life time,
Yeah.
but I also can feel this rising up of life and energy and wellness and happiness that is
It's awesome.
now I'm going on that path, right?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
we just have to remember, and it's so hard when you're in this like I can't live like this place,
Yeah.
that this other crust will be coming, right?
Yeah.
And and it's not always flat and it's not always high. It's sometimes like I'm talking 7 years of like kind of low or,
Yeah.
maybe 3 to 4 of those, and now it's like now we're on the upswing again. And so
Yeah.
I just think we need to make space for all of that and know that, this more uplifted, energetic, thriving period, I'm coming
Yeah.
into that, or I have been coming into that.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing that. Actually, I think that's a great place to end because it's true, yeah, that's a thing, and you don't realize you're trying to be your best self when all these terrible things are happening. I mean, in 2020, we all had kind of a trauma. We all had
Mhm.
this thing happen to us. It was traumatic, whether you had anyone pass away or not. It was the world was in chaos, and so
Mhm.
and with that, I also had my mom pass away, and then I also decided to quit my job. And so, like, one is enough to make anyone feel like I'd like to just go in a hole or be in my bed for the rest of my life. So we have to, I think we need to uh, treat ourselves with a little tender, loving care, when we're going
Tender
through those
loving.
major things.
Yeah, and I also, one of my things that I guess is another thing I'd like to share that women
Hmm.
need to know is it's okay to be sad when like sad things
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. For sure.
Putting on a happy face is just like hitting the whack-a-mole of emotions that are just going to come
Yes.
pouring out at some other time.
Yeah.
And so we need to make space for all of our emotions
Yeah. Yeah.
when things are hard. We don't
Yeah.
want to stay there forever,
Right.
but your emotions are there for a reason. And so we want to allow that. But yeah, it's been a crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, if nothing else had happened, just with the pandemic, like
Right.
your world changed, all of our worlds changed. Like,
They did. It did.
yeah.
I mean, we all had a different life in 2020. And, to think that it didn't affect us, I think that's a little, I don't know. It's not, I mean, it did. We may not be living it now. We may not be having to keep our distance from people, but things change. I notice people aren't taking care of themselves when they're sneezing into their hands and then trying to touch me.
Hmm.
It's like, did we not learn anything in the pandemic? Those kinds of
Yeah.
things. Anyway,
Listen, there
well,
was good things too. We got drive up shopping out of the pandemic.
oh,
I'm
it's
sorry.
I say it all the time. Like, this was
I mean,
the
praise
best
be.
thing. And you know what we learned? We learned that many jobs that we didn't think could be remote can be remote. You know what I mean? Like, I love that I can talk to you. You're in Nebraska. I'm in Las Vegas. We can talk to each other over Zoom. I love these kinds of things. I do. There's certain things that I go, this was one of the greatest things because we had a lot of tragedy in the pandemic in our family.
Mhm.
And I just think about the good things too. I'm like, okay, yeah, drive up shopping. I get to talk to people around the world on Zoom, and I'm just going to
Amazing.
look at those good things. So, well, thank you so much for being here. That was amazing. That was really helpful. Thanks. I felt like I got coached again.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me and thank you for all that you're doing and putting your work out into the world. I think all of our voices are so important, especially
Yes.
women on this second act of life. And
Yes. I
so
love that.
I really
Yes.
appreciate what you're doing. I'm so glad that we got connected.
Me too. So tell everybody where they can find you.
PaigeDempseyCoaching.com, dating coach page on the socials. Just come find me because I am really on a mission to help women
Yes.
have better relationships with others and most importantly with themselves. So
I
thank
love
you.
that. I love that. And I'll put all the information in the show notes so you guys can connect with her. And of course, if you're listening to this episode and it resonated with you, of course, connect with us and leave us a, Apple or Spotify review and go to the social medias and make a nice comment and all the things that help podcast land know that you guys love us. So thanks again, Paige, for being here. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
you. Thank you.
Talk to you guys next time. Nope.